we talked a little bit about some of the things that piss us off, and we mentioned a few of these in there. Good segue to the next topic. Which consistent issue of the Sixers pisses you off the most? Turnovers, awful transition defense, or poor rebounding? Eric, why don't you go ahead?
I don't think the rebounding bothers me as much as it does.
Really?
Just Joel. His offensive rebounds bother me because I think he spends a little too much time on the perimeter. He doesn't put himself in position to offensive rebound enough. So from that standpoint, defensive rebounding is kind of correctable. I mean, I think we can get better at it, guys. Sometimes I think that's just getting broken down defensively a lot of times.
Doesn't a correctable issue that isn't being done? See, that's why rebounding was number one for me, because that's just more effort, I think, sometimes than anything else. I'm like, why? Just I find myself yelling at the TV.
Yeah, but I mean,
rebound.
I don't know. Some people have, nowadays, some of these coaches and some of these teams have rebounding philosophies where you go to a certain location to offensive rebound and rebound, defensive rebound. So I don't know if the Sixers are there, but I do know there are some teams that actually rebound based on analytics and where to go for a shot, when the shot is taken, where the shot is taken from, or where you are on the court, where you should go. Like, I don't know if they're that detailed in that situation.
Interesting.
I do know that they don't really have maybe Paul Reed's that guy. Like, don't really have a guy that's like a go-getter.
Yeah.
Go get those rebounds that are really out of his reach.
Tucker, but he's like 6'5", so he doesn't have a good reach.
Yeah, I mean, Tucker works hard, but I'm saying like dudes that just dominate from that standpoint, that they get them the Reggie Evans types. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just rebound all day.
Yeah. Paul Reed would probably be the closest thing.
I just don't know if we're that type of team. I would say maybe. I mean, turnover. I think the turnovers hurt us a great deal because you already got a team that's lacking in transition defense, and the turnovers make it worse.
Oh man.
And then if you're not making shots, those missed opportunities, the missed opportunity to get in the bonus. I think turnover games where you have high turnovers, really, to me, I would say that really kicked us most.
Trill, what you got?
So I would probably lean in your direction as well. I would say the rebounding, mostly because I just think that, like, we've seen, once again, I've talked about this on my podcast before, and I'm done analyzing game to game kind of the Sixers because I kind of know who they are as a team. And I agree with Eric that I don't think this team is really built all that well to rebound. But the one thing that we saw with the transition defense was that last year in the playoffs, when the effort levels went up, the transition defense got a lot better. Toronto had a game or two where they were able to cause some turnovers, get out running, but most of those games against Toronto, who I believe had the best offense in transition in the NBA last year, the Sixers did a pretty good job, especially in the games that they won, kind of slowing down them based on these things that weren't, it might be a little bit tougher now just because I think the take foul has kind of fundamentally changed the NBA in that, like, when you have bigger centers, especially guys where you're running a lot of your offense through the post, it is going to be tough to get back on transition and have your center be because traditionally speaking, your center is the guy that can kind of slow down the transition attack. And the Sixers don't have a ton of guys that we know of that are, great hustle guys like on the team right now. I think the few guys that you mentioned, like Tucker, he's a little bit older now. I think those things will kind of correct themselves as the effort levels go up in the playoffs. I'm not really worried about that. I try to project all of my things that I'm worried about to the playoffs. And we saw the rebounding rear its head a lot in that Raptor series and a lot in that Heat series where if they were able to just end possessions, they probably win some of those games that they lost, or the games that they won, they were probably winning, especially in the Miami series. They probably weren't quite as close because Miami just absolutely dominated. One of the reasons why we got PJ Tucker was because there were several possessions where, he was extending it by 2-3 rebounds and when that is the case, it can make you want to pull your hair out when you're watching the team. I think that the turnovers are something that I think it's just kind of built into Joel being the player that he is and being our best player who has the ball the most. We're probably going to turn the ball over a decent amount, and I would like to see like the Warriors every year usually lead at some point, at least we're leading the league in turnovers every year, but they played with a pace. The Sixers don't really play with pace. We're kind of a slower team, and
that's why turnovers kill you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why it's frustrating. The turnovers.
As I was saying, the lack of possessions with it,
Sure.
like that's why it kills you.
Yeah, and with Harden, who's always been a low turnover player for his amount of usage, as he kind of loses a little bit of a step, he gets a little bit older. And some of those possessions where he's looking to draw fouls turn into turnovers. All of these things can kill you, but the rebounding is the one thing that I think is the most frustrating for me, because it felt like two of our main off-season acquisitions were DeAnthony Melton, who's one of the best rebounding guards in the NBA, and PJ Tucker, who has been a very good offensive rebounder, especially last year, as we saw, and neither of those issues have really been fixed. And I'm starting to wonder, Joel actually looked like he was kind of giving a shit, to be honest. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can curse on here. Good, but yeah. So he was kind of carrying more in the Lakers game, and when he was, there was a big difference. They were getting a ton more rebounds, and I'm hoping that kind of effort shows in the playoffs and can kind of carry over in the same way that the transition defense stuff did last year.
I'm going to go to the Wizards-Sixers game later on in the month, and I'm going to try to get seats close enough to they can hear me grab the rebound.
You guys were definitely right about Paul Reed, though. He's a streaky player in that, like, he'll have one game where he looks like incredible, and then the next game it's like he's fouling every other play, and he's young. I think that he's going to learn as he gets older, but his rebounding has really been beneficial when he has played. And I think the team rebounds better as a whole when he's on the court as well.
Deflections and loose balls too.
Yeah.
He's 100%. A go-getter. He's all over.
Yeah. Love his energy.
That's why I said, like, he is the motor guy.
Yep.
That, some people play that guy. Some teams play that guy. Some teams don't.
Mm-hmm.